Hello, this is Alejandro Bratti and William Isley from Unlock Clarity, and welcome to Spanglish World Network on Single TV channel 250. Please remember to download both the Single TV app on the respective app stores on iOS and Android devices. While you download, make sure to leave a rate and a comment. The app is free and is available in Google Chromecast, Amazon Fire, Roku, and all smart TVs. Today, we are happy, William, that we had last week was Thanksgiving, and we were talking a lot about gratitude, and that was something that we are grateful for, even the people that is listening to us. And we want to give another key in everything that happens. If you want to really start to elevate your consciousness and all the things that happen around you, and it's about forgiveness. So when you start to think about forgiveness, William, what comes to your mind? Where we need to start?
With me, realistically, learning how to forgive me gives me the ability to forgive others. And if I lose the ability or forget my ability to forgive me for perceived transgressions, things that I think I've done wrong, having been raised by two perfectionists, that was a challenge to get through all of that in therapy. And some days I still have a challenge forgiving me for certain things that don't even matter. Those days are few and far between now, but they do happen. So yeah, that's where I would start, is thinking about, how do I forgive me? How do I give me credit for X, Y, and Z? And then it's like we've always heard that it starts in here and then comes out.
Yes, and this is really important because we can be thinking a lot about, like, okay, who I want to forgive, and maybe if we are talking about this word, you start to think like, yeah, maybe this person, but I don't know how to forgive my father for the thing that he did, or my mother. And we agree that that is important, but start to see what are the things that you don't have any grace in yourself, to start to
So
understand.
so I just remembered something important. In the Christian Bible, the New Testament, wasn't it Peter who asked Jesus, "How many times should I forgive my brother? Till 7 times?" And Jesus says, "Till 70 times 7, which is 490 times." So what this tells me is I need to stay in a state of forgiveness.
Yes.
So that brings up an interesting point. Forgive and forget, yes. And yet, what am I forgiving? There's, where is it in the Old Testament? There's something about as far as the East is from the West, those kinds of things. And by the same token, in this day and age, turn the other cheek and forgive 490 times, like I'm going to keep track. So, there's some conundrums here in this day and age of shoot first and ask questions later.
Mm. Mm.
Where do you go with that?
That's why I believe we start with us always. Why? Because a lot of time it's like I have to forgive myself of doing something that I didn't like, or sometimes we even take the guilt of what happened around us, and it's like I am the reason that this is happening to me. So it's like a start to. That's why for me, it's starting with you first is always important, because that is going to elevate you. Like, okay, now I know that I am powerful. I know that I am, even the perception of everything that is happening around you is going to be different. because if you are focusing in others and what is happening with them and how they are affecting you and how you start to lose the point, like, okay, start to understand, okay, are you enough? Do you have what is needed? So those are questions that everybody is asking, and it doesn't matter if it's a CEO or if it's a person that is starting in anything. It's like, okay, do I have everything that that it's, or am I worth it? So those things are really important questions to know, and everything start with forgive yourself for the faults and the things, and start to give grace of everything that is happening to you, and really that doesn't mean start to let everyone do whatever they want to you and live your life because you have to keep forgiving everyone, but it's more about the mindset. How is
Thank
your mindset?
that's the doormat philosophy. That's what I was trying to get to. Thank you for bringing that up. It's like forgiveness does not equal being a doormat.
Exactly.
And so I like something you were talking about earlier. When we have opinions of others or judge others or ourselves, these are actual programs that we're either we created or somebody else gave to us.
Mm,
Sometimes cultural, family, those kinds of things. And so something else you said about forgiveness being the key to uninstalling those programs that are no longer serving us and sometimes even block our success. I mean, I thought that was brilliant.
mm. And I want to, well, first I'm going to say hello to Beatriz that is writing us from Las Palmas, Gran Canaria. Hola. Hola, Beatriz. And we want to say here specifically, we have been talking in the last weeks, like, okay, we have programs in our head and in our subconscious, and it's the way we function. Why? Because we don't have the ability to do everything in our conscious mind. Like everything being conscious is not something we don't have the ability to do everything that we're doing. For example, how you drive a car, it's something that you learn, and in the process of learning, what you are doing is writing a program, and suddenly that program is going to help you to drive without thinking. It's going to be the same with other things, and even things that are like, okay, when somebody touches a point of you and something that you that says something that you don't like, suddenly a program is activated and you start to be like wow and create like a lot of noise out of that. That it's a program also. So that's why we are talking about programs here. It's like things that we start to create inside of ourselves to make our lives easier. But sometimes if we create bad programs, is doing exactly the opposite, and the results that we want to change in our life depend really completely in how are our programs, because if our programs are defective, what is happening is even in your computer you are going to have this blue screen or all the things that that start to happen. And why is that? Is because you are not exactly the way you are supposed to be. So what we are talking today is very powerful, because it's like if you have those programs installed and you have been programming yourself for everything in your life in the last 20, 30, 40, 50 years, I don't know how many years do you have, is at the end the way to start to find out. If you find out like, okay, one program is not working for me, and you bring it to the conscious mind and start to think like, I want to change this, everything starts with the forgiveness. Why? Because you put it because of what happened at school with you, what happened when you were at that job that they hired you and they left you, and what happened around you suddenly creates some programs like, okay, I am not enough, I am not good at doing this, I have to change this. So forgiveness is the key to open the door to fix those problems.
So another word we could use for program is perception.
Mm.
The way I'm seeing the world. Uh, so for me, they're interchangeable in most cases. I mean,
And the reality is that,
we both programmed computers, so we get the nuances of that. But yeah, I mean,
and you can do something very simple with that. It's like depends what is the sunglasses that you have. If you have a sunglass that is yellow, everything is going to be yellow, and that is your perception. But that doesn't mean that the whole world is yellow. And you are looking, oh, I don't know why everything is red. I am finding that everything is really bad and everything is red, and it's no. You have to change your sunglasses or eyeglasses that you have right now and start to find, okay, maybe the problem is the perception that I have. And how you start to change is like, okay, let me start to find what is the area that I need to forgive in myself to start to open the door to the situations and everything that has to be fixed inside of me.
yeah, exactly. That is so awesome. An incredible way to look at the world.
So we are talking about different things. Like first, start with yourself. Everything start with yourself. Even the thing that you think that no, I have clearly what is the person that did all the wrong things to me. If you start to deal, you are going to find that there are a lot of things that you are blaming yourself because of that situation, and that's why we are talking about start with yourself. Always start with yourself, and that is going to be a very good point to start to fix everything that is happening and all those ideas that you have that person very clearly who is and how and what you need to do. The second one is when you understand that forgiveness is something that elevates you and moves you to really see and have another perception of everything and start to see differently everything, you are going to find like, wow, forgiveness is going to open the doors for a new world, you know?
Absolutely. So then that leads to journaling, to writing down some of the things that run through our minds. I mean, if we make the effort to capture them on paper, or well, that's old school. But if we make the effort to capture them in a document or on paper, wherever, it kind of changes the sunglasses sometimes.
And I like exactly what you said. People think that writing in a paper is old school, but the reality is very important if because there is a connection between your eyes, your hand, and things that are happening inside of you. So even when it's old school, it's one of the best ways that you can do to really do this because writing in the computer is not the same, writing in your cell phone is not the same. It's not going to open the door for all the things that can happen, and you can do start to review a lot of studies everywhere about that, and you're going to find that writing it like literally in a paper in a journal or in a place is going to start to be something amazing. So if you haven't tried it in the last years, do it. Start to do even this little exercise, like everything start with me. Start to understand what is the thing that I have to do. Take the time to write the thoughts and feelings that you have about everything, relationship at your home, at your work, at your family, everything that you can think. And suddenly, like you start to open the door. Oh, I start to understand where is the problem. Uh,
So here's a thing to remember though, is as you're writing these, attempt to stay neutral, because we don't need to be judging what's coming out, because that's going to shut down the flow. That's going to shut down the helpful aspects.
mm,
And if we start judging, that means I get to something I don't like and I could fly off into a rage in my mind, and I've completely negated the whole reason for doing this particular exercise.
And in that point, I have a question for you, William, because I like this idea of not judging. But even if you start to judge, you can pay attention on that and start to understand, oh, why I am judging this thing, why I am being so mean about this, why I have a lot of opinions about this. Because if you go deeper on that, because that can happen a lot, like judging, sometimes I am very judging with myself more than with anybody else. So if I start to see the judging happening a lot, it like start to put attention on that, like what is exactly that I am judging, why I am so angry about this. And you are going to start to find some of those programs like, oh,
Thank-
when I am thinking about my mom, I start to judge a lot of things. Oh, that's that's a point that you need to start to heal. And that's an area that you need forgiveness.
and keep writing, because like Alejandro is saying, um, keep writing. If you feel a judgment come up, write it out. This is called stream of consciousness writing,
Mm.
and that's the way to get to the bottom of it. Is, well, okay, I'm feeling this. Well, keep writing. And when I've done this exercise, I've been very amazed at what comes out that I had no idea was in there.
And really, if you find at the end that, okay, I am finding something that I don't really want to see and I don't know what to do with this, look for some help. We are here to help. That's why we are doing this show, is to open the eyes for the people to start to understand how to elevate their consciousness. That's why you, all the things that you do, William, are because of that. The things that I am doing are because of that. The thing that we do together is really about that, like how to help people when you are stuck and you don't know what else to do. And when you start to write, you start to feel like blocked because of that. Okay, I need some help. And there is some people that is really expert that are ready to help you. So start to feel the connection with those people. And if you feel a connection with us, look for us. If you have a connection with another one, look for that connection. But the idea is to help you to really succeed and start to transcend exactly what is happening to you. And that's why we are talking about forgiveness, because that is going to help you transcend the thing that has been blocking you for years or decades sometimes. So that's what I wanted to talk about this.
Yeah, it's a wonderful subject, and it's not always simple to talk about. Sometimes not even easy to talk about.
And
So,
what you were saying, it's very easy that you start to judge in the middle of trying to do this, like myself or others. Or so that is the key. Start to understand that judge. What is exactly that is happening, and what are you thinking? And
oh,
suddenly you can start to open the doors. Like, wow, that's why I need forgiveness. All this judgment that I have here, it's only programs that I already have in my mind.
and something I just realized, another way to access those that could be simpler is how and what questions in the mind, or writing out, how can I do this, or what caused this, those kinds of things. How did I get to this point of judgment?
And there is something that we have been talking a lot lately, also in the last weeks. It's about meditation, and meditation. In this example, after you start to write and start to understand what are the areas that you need to start to forgive, the idea with the meditation is to start to connect inside of you and start to understand what is specifically that is happening, and start to live like, okay, I forgive this person. I start to open the door. And sometimes, even when you are saying that in your meditation, I forgive, maybe you don't feel it and you're like, I don't want to forgive, but yeah, Alejandro is telling me that I have to forgive, or William is telling you that I have to forgive, so I'm going to do it. And you continue doing that, and maybe it's going to take some days or maybe some weeks of doing that
Absolutely.
daily, until wow, I start to feel like I let it go, finally. And that is exactly what we are talking. And why this is important? Because next week we are going to be talking about potential, and really a way to start to unlock your potential and unlock everything in your life. Start with forgiveness.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
So, any last comments that you want to share today, William?
Sometimes I believe we get lost in the whole concept of getting mixed up between forgiveness and justice and some of those gray areas of X, Y, and Z did this to me. Why should I forgive them? And it gets a little fuzzy sometimes because that whole forgive and forget thing, I had that mixed up for decades, um, because of some of my early training. And I thought forgiveness was being a doormat. And yeah, it's not necessarily. So it's a matter of what is forgiveness? What are these programs? What have they created in my head, in my brain? And um, yeah, once again, it's like you said, Alejandro. It can take days, weeks, months, sometimes to work through what's going on, and sometimes, in my case, I had to have help with that. I absolutely could not get to some of these realizations on my own.
And that is important to accelerate, having somebody, a third party, that is like looking all your ideas and your thoughts and the way you are talking and everything can help you a lot. So thank you everyone for being with us today. Open the door with the forgiveness, and see you next week with the potential and unlocking your potential. So this show can also be heard on the Spanglish Radio Network. Please check out spanglishworld.ca for the news and programming. Spanglish World, watch it, hear it, read it, download it, and leave it. Bye.